This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, judges. My name is Caden Kasiak, and I worked on the HVAC and electrical for the project. And I would like to introduce to you Culinary Construction and our gastronomic center, Global Bistro.
Good morning, I'm Gavin Glocky. I'm the co-project manager. I worked on electrical and structural engineering. So when looking at a site for our facility, we chose St. Augustine, Florida, because it has a rich culinary palette and diverse culture blend. So our location is going to be right off the US 1, which goes directly into downtown St. Augustine, which will bring in tourists who are going to St. Augustine. So we have more access to customers. And this land is located on county plot, so we can get funding through grants. So the overview of the facility, this is going to be environment for cultural exchange through gastronomy. So we're going to have lots of chefs from different parts of the world come over and exchange their knowledge and techniques with each other. Let's create a culinary melting pot in St. Augustine with our interactive cooking studios, and this will in turn attract more businesses to the area.
Hi, I'm Elise Sirocco, and I worked mostly with Trey on the exterior of the building. And the Global Bistro is a welcoming place, so we wanted to make use of bright native Floridian plants and shrubbery to welcome visitors in. We also have a unique side paneling, and this feature is elevated off the walls of the building and is a pattern of geometric shapes that symbolize creativity and connectedness.
Hello, judges. My name is Trey Askew, and my job was to design the Revit model for Global Bistro. And when designing our facility, we want to provide visitors with an unconfined layout as they, traverse around Global Bistro. And the organization of our rooms allow not only for our guests but our employees to quickly move from room to room as they figure out where they're going, and an ability to, feel unconfined and creative. Important aspect of our facilities are cooking studios. We have 2 of them, and their sole purpose is to bring guests in and teach them about, the culinary world. We'll have new chefs in every other week, and they'll be able to teach these people as they go and interact with their own, customizable set of lessons. And we'll have these set up through our concierge desk, so you'll set up an appointment about a week in advance, and yeah.
Good morning, my name is Leanna Goldman and I worked on the interior design of Global Bistro. So we wanted to make sure that we had a welcoming environment, but not too cozy. So that's why we decided to use red and beige because those colors work great for that. And we wanted to have a balance of metal appliances and wood design elements. But we also wanted to make sure we could include the technology by having the classes live streamed to the cafe and website.
So for our HVAC and electrical systems, we decided on a VRF system, which allows for modularity through we decided to go through the character line, specifically the MMYH model. And what that does, it's a very high efficient system for a building with a lot of windows, a lot of cooking spaces, and basically just what we have as a building as a whole.
Good morning, judges. My name is Lauren Phillip. I worked on sustainability. So I focus on achieving LEED accreditation for our facility because it is quote unquote means high achievement of environmental benefits, human performance, building performance. So utilizing the building design and construction scorecard, because we are a food facility, I think our main focus was on things such as the air quality. We wanted to do water usage and anything that would help with ventilation throughout the facility. So by focusing on food materials, things like proper food storage, we can help reduce waste, we can do waste reduction using appropriate water systems like the water sense. We can reuse water and heating systems and cooling systems. We can focus on the water aspect as well, especially because we do have a lot of kitchen space. And then air quality is very important because we are, as stated before, a food facility. So focusing on ventilation throughout the building. We came across things like breathable bricks that will allow the building to essentially, like I said, breathe. And advertising all of these effects can really help with promoting this like sustainability to our consumers and will help us as well.
Good morning. My name is Spencer Reagan. I was a co-project manager with Gavin. I also worked on the schedule and the budget. As you can see here, our project is kind of short overall. It's going to be about 1.5 years from the contract awarded date, or 309 work days. It's Monday through Friday, non-holidays. And what we really wanted to kind of make sure we had was a lot of our tasks kind of overlapping a little bit. It helps us to mitigate delays. It helps us walk around pushback that we may have, and then it also allows us more flexibility should one take more than usual. And then it hasn't been mentioned yet, but our building is around 19,093 square feet. It's relatively conservatively sized for what you wanted to fit into it, but it is very, very dense in features. Overall, our total cost is around 13.4 million, and a lot of this comes from our HVAC system, our appliances for all the cooking, and some of our more sustainable features, which tend to be a little bit more expensive, but it's well worth the cost because it allows us to, as Lauren mentioned earlier, be certified.
So overall, it actually took a long time to decide whether we'd invest in like a massive facility or a local feature-rich building, as Spencer was saying. And we started with a very complex, but it wasn't really coming together, and we were all kind of on different pages for what we wanted to incorporate. But we started spending after hours and meeting twice a week on both Thursday and Tuesday to decide like what we wanted for our building and the direction we were going to take it, and the wants versus the needs. And this led us to a more locally focused center, like Spencer said, on a smaller scale that was like oriented on the learning aspect of culinary exchange. And ultimately, we all learned a lot more about resolving conflict over different ideas and more about the project, I guess, itself. And I think I can speak for the team when we say we're all proud of it. And with perseverance, we have created the right building and like center for the purpose.
All right, are there any questions?
Great, thank you guys very much. So now we're going to, for the next phase, we're going to ask the 4 evaluators. We're blessed to have 4 professionals joining us today. Brooke Robbins, an architect who owns her own design studio. Olivia Frick, who works for CPPI. Michelle Tapuni, and Tom Grogan. So I'll ask those 4 evaluators to go ahead and unmute and turn your cameras back on. And we'll start with Brooke, and we'll ask Brooke to provide feedback and any questions she might have for the team.
Okay, morning guys. I think you did a great job. This is something I think your location selection in St. Augustine is a great for especially culinary, all the different aspects that are there, all the different people that come to visit St. Augustine. I think this is a great location for it. I did have a few questions for you guys. One, you mentioned a few things about being locally focused culinary exchange. Did you consider or did you think about how your gastronomy center would work with like local farmers, and would they bring their products in, if like farmers market incorporated within it, or did you discuss that, or was that part of the kind of as you were narrowing down the scope of the project?
Part of that was narrowing it down, is that we eventually ran out of the logistics for it. It became very much a hassle to coordinate. There was a professional that visited us at one point that suggested that managing that rotating stock would have been very, very difficult, especially on if we were moving on a weekly basis, our menu, how it would have been difficult to keep the perfect amount of material.
Okay. I will say one thing that you guys mentioned when you're talking about your budget, which is very, very accurate, that you mentioned that you were aware, that your AC systems and your kitchen equipment and all of those things would greatly affect the price. And that's one thing we run into quite a bit in design and construction with restaurants and that sort of thing is the food service equipment budget. A lot of times is, a majority significant portion of the fee. So especially when you're looking at, essentially like 3 or 4 different restaurants in one location, how, the cost of that. So I think you guys did a good job with that.
Thank you very much.
Jacob, I think that's all I had. If you want to pass it to the next evaluator.
Okay. Olivia.
Hey, good morning, guys. First of all, I think you guys did an amazing job. It's exciting to see all the work that happened off-site too. I think you guys put a lot of heart into this. I don't have a whole lot of questions or comments, but I just want to note a few things. I was interested in the color scheme. So you said you chose red and beige. Did that have some sort of significance to your actual theme, or how did that come about?
So the red and beige were more so, we chose more of a darker red just because it's to where red is one of those powerful colors, but also a lot of food is red, so that ties into that. And then beige is kind of one of those more neutral colors to kind of balance it out. And they're just colors that went really well together, and they match like the St. Augustine theme, so it just worked.
Okay, yeah, great answer. The other thing I had, and this is something that we're all as professionals dealing with now. A lot of us are now having to go to virtual presentations. So you guys adapted very quickly. Just a thing to remember going forward is that we can see all of everything behind you and what you're doing during the presentation. So just try to be mindful of your posture and positioning. And I think you guys did a really great job with that. That's a really tough thing to pivot on. So well done, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. Michelle? Michelle, you're on. You got to.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry. Thanks for moving forward under these circumstances. You guys did a really good job. Brooke asked a couple of my questions related to the local, but I did want to ask, the selection with St. Augustine, was there any discussion related to the design and sea level rise? Because that's been a big issue with the St. Augustine community and what they're doing with their infrastructure over the next 10 to 30 years. Any thoughts on that?
Who wants to take that
You
one?
looked most at the site. Do you?
What?
You looked most at the site. Did you?
Oh, so for the site, it's where we located is a little higher elevated than most places in St. Augustine. It also has a reserve pond next to it. So if there was lots of water, it would most likely go into there.
Okay.
To add on to that, oh, sorry. Should I?
Oh,
Okay.
no, go ahead.
We were looking at sites with rivers, but we decided to go not on those sites because we did consider like environmental effects. Just to add on.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. The other, you mentioned, first, congratulations on giving a realistic budget. The fact that you included land costs, I think people forget you actually have to buy the land or procure the land that you're building on. You mentioned that you were going to get funding through grants. Was that fleshed out anywhere, or that was just is that where you think all of your funding is going to come from?
So we kind of ran into a roadblock. A lot of the county grants that we discussed, being an educational institution, that's what offers us those certain grants from the county, especially being on county land. When I did look into it a little bit further, I ran into a roadblock that you had to actually begin the application process to figure out a bit more. And I really didn't want to get real authorization for a fake building. And then the county kind of stonewalled me a bit more than I was hoping for with just purely probing questions. So I wasn't able to figure out that much. The rest of it would become private.
Okay, great. And then my last question is, with all of the things that have been happening with COVID-19 is there anything in your design now, knowing how people have to do different sanitary processes, or with different types of segregating or social distancing, that you would change about your design?
When it comes to like, staying 5 feet apart from each other or 6 feet apart, we do actually have pretty wide open spaces in our layout. There'd probably be one change, that might be the layout of the cafeteria with COVID, but most of the other places seems pretty spread out, and you can definitely keep a good distance from people and stay sanitary during COVID-19 quarantine.
Great. Well, congratulations again, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Tom?
Hi there. I thought you guys did do a great presentation. Somebody was talking about mechanical systems earlier, and he used a term I was not familiar with. I think it was like MYHA system, or can you say what that was and what that meant?
Spence, you want to take over because you're the one who found the actual specific model.
Yes, sir. Let me get back to it. Sorry. That specific one is quite literally just the specific model we were looking at. It's a 3-phase heat pump system.
Oh, okay.
VRF inside. Sorry, that was just something we thought was kind of interesting, is that we were able to find a specific model.
I did not. Yes. Okay. I didn't realize it was a carrier model. If I had seen that earlier, I wouldn't have asked the question. Very good. Looking at the schedule, 18-month schedule, I appreciate you guys thinking about that, because it looked like that's realistic and doable. So many times we have these projects and you see that we're going to build this thing in 8 months. And so an 18-month schedule looks realistic. You are at over $700 a square foot. So one of the things that you should think about is, if you had to take $100 a square foot out, where would you do it? I'm not asking you to do it now, because that would be crazy. But I do think, as Michelle said earlier, you did a great job including all the things that are required, including the land. So I thought that went well. And then your guys' submission was right as the coronavirus was coming out, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So was there any fundamental shift in how you guys behaved with each other after that versus when you were face to face? Because most of the project you probably put together face to face, right?
A lot of yelling over text, if we're going to be honest.
It's more
brainstorming. Sure. Okay. Well, thank you for that. That's all the questions I have. You guys did an awesome job with your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you all. Thank you guys very much again for finishing strong. We really appreciate your desire to wrap up the program and not just kind of stop. So thank you again for your participation. We'll be in touch with the seniors next week about scholarships. Hope you have a great rest of your day, great weekend. And we'll kind of, for everybody on the line, our next presentation is scheduled to begin at 9:40. So we're going to leave this meeting running, and we'll just take a little bit of a pause. At 9:30, the next team is scheduled to join in and start getting stuff queued up. So 9:35, we'll be preparing for the next presentation at 9:40.
Okay.
Thank you all. We'll just take a little break here.
Thank you.
See you in a few.
This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning. We are at the Culinary Summit of Jacksonville. We are a gastronomic center designed specifically to enhance a customer's experience and learning in different cooking techniques. My name is Allie, and I'm a sustainability expert for the Culinary Summit of Jacksonville. Our site is located at 801 Broadcast Place in Jacksonville, Florida. Our site is ideal because we are close to the TIAA Bake Field, as well as Bishop Kenny High School. We are also close to some local food shops, such as the Bearded Pig, Good Dough Bakery, and the Bold Bean. Our location is perfect because our center will provide a different aspect than what is currently there in the community right now.
Hi, I'm Bella Gallo, and I'm the interior and exterior designer. We wanted the greenery of this land to be expanded upon so we could contribute to the riverside view that we have of our gastronomic center. In that way, we can make it as open as possible with both its wide entrance and its leading into the building.
Hi, I'm Farrah Brown. I'm the architect. The circular building provides a unique experience when entering and experimenting with all of the interactive screens and viewing the kitchens. To view the kitchens, you stand on the top floor while the kitchens are below you, giving off a showroom feel, but yet doesn't disrupt the chefs during their tutorials. The circular flow allows people to move in an organized manner, but also make self-made choices, allowing multiple chefs to teach daily with maximum view. Here we have the lower level floor plans showing out the layout of the kitchen and the stairs you go up to view them. This is the upper floor showing the circular floor plan along around the kitchens, the windows with the windows you look through them.
We wanted the space of the customer and the chef to come together by adding more greenery from the garden into the inside of the room. In that way, the chefs can both have the freshest food at their disposal and as well as creating a more calming and interactive environment for them to be creative and perform in front of a large crowd of people, as well as having many interactive displays for the public so that they can as well feel a part of the creation of several different types of food.
These four pictures show the actual floor plan, show the actual floors and kitchens, giving you a view of what it would be like inside.
Hi, I'm Ryan Flack, and I'm the Civil and Structural Engineer for the Culinary Summit of Jacksonville. We have a 126 space parking lot with walkways down the middle as well as one-way angled parking. To store stormwater underground, we will be using StormTech SC310 chambers and trenching for sanitary pipes that will be moved off-site to wastewater facilities. For the skeleton, we are using friction piles for the foundation and beams and reinforced concrete for the framework. And our roof dome will be constructed with steel beams.
Rohan, you're muted.
Hi, I'm Rohan Bangu, and I was in charge of the mechanical aspects in our build. One of the big aspects is we chose a water-cooled HVAC system rather than an air-cooled system, mainly because we found that for our building size, water-cooled systems were almost 50% more energy efficient. Furthermore, we decided to use wide-range vents in the kitchens because you would need less blower motors, and so it would be more efficient to cover the same amount of area. And the vents also have integrated carbon monoxide alarms since we are using gas indoors.
I'm Ingrid Salahovich, the electrical engineer of the group. We'll be having an integrated display and camera system. There will be cameras hidden throughout the kitchen along with motion sensors. These motion sensors will alert the TV displays that are all along the inside hallways that are showing out, and so as each chef passes, it'll change to the camera where they are. There'll also be tablet displays along the outside hallways, all looking into the kitchen, so people can pick out what camera they want to look at to see what the chef is doing or what they have done. They'll also be able to pick what recipes they'll be able to find what recipes they'll be using.
And to keep our footprint as minimal as possible within our gastronomic center, we are using the biodegradable cups as well as compostable to-go containers. This allows the guests to bring home the food that they saw the chefs cooking, which adds another experience that they would not typically have, as well as bringing local food into our gastronomic center rather than shipping it across the entire country. That way we minimize the carbon footprint as well. Our gastronomic center is also equipped with a grease collection system, which Rohan will be further into talk about.
So this is a rough sketch of our grease collection system. On the right, you see our ground floor, and that's going to be where our kitchens are housed. Each quadrant represents a kitchen. The semicircles on the top and bottom are central dumping points for any used grease or used oil in the kitchen. And there's an an underground system which collects to a large holding tank outside. And this basically allows ease of access in case a company wants to come and take up our oil. And that oil can be used for many things, such as biodiesel production, and it helps make money for the facility as well.
Hi, I'm Nick, and I'm presenting scheduling and cost estimation. So in total, our project is expected to take 367 days, and on the left, you can see a detailed breakdown of what we're doing during all of those 367 days. This slide has that information in a more digestible, readable format. As you can see, the majority of our time will be spent in design and construction, which will take 110 and 244 days respectively. Construction consists of site work and building, which we allotted 199 days and 209 days respectively. So taking into account materials, square footage, and kitchen equipment, our final cost figure is $12,698,800.
And since we are not together as a team anymore, we don't learn how to work on these different type of techniques through Zoom calls and also through email. We were also trying to integrate a different kitchens, because it's not your stereotypical kitchen that you would see in your house. We want to make sure that it was well equipped to do many different techniques from the chefs all across the world, as well as using programs such as PowerPoint and Revit to really enhance our presentation. We are the Culinary Summit of Jacksonville. And are there any questions?
Awesome, great job, guys. And team, so like I mentioned earlier, we've got 4 professionals on the call to provide feedback and ask some questions. We're joined by Brooke Robbins, Olivia Frick, Michelle Tapuni, and Tom Grogan. And we'll go in that same order around the horn with feedback and questions. So we'll start with you, Brooke.
Good morning, guys. Thank you for your presentation. You did a great job. And to just start with what you said at the end, that we're all, even, you know, the professionals figuring out how to conduct business via Zoom and virtually and all of that. So it's a learning curve for everyone. So I think you guys did a great job on that. Few comments and then just a couple questions I had for you guys. I really like your plan, the circular layout for it. I think that promotes people, you know, wandering around the facility and seeing, they won't just stop at the first kitchen they come to. It'll make them walk around. So I found that very interesting. I did like the one slide you had where you were bringing kind of the garden in. I think that's a very important aspect of cooking and sustainability, is using local resources and you know, healthy foods, you know, that can taste good, and that sort of thing. And also your aspect on sustainability with using the recyclable, you know, containers, compostable containers, and that sort of thing. That's a big thing, especially right now with everybody getting, you know, so much takeout and all of that. You know, some places are still using styrofoam, and the amount of, you know, trash that's coming from that is astronomical. So I like that you took that into account when you were thinking about it. A couple questions. One thing, the way your building's designed, it's very kind of internally oriented, as walking around and looking into the kitchens, which I understand is the aspect of that, but you're also on the riverfront. So did you think about how to incorporate the building with the river, since you have that awesome site there, with maybe, you know, restaurants or something on the roof that you could then, you know, go upstairs and eat and see the river or something like that? Was that something you all discussed or thought about?
We discussed having an outdoor restaurant in the back, but because of the location and with the sediment, it wouldn't be reasonable to put a building there. So we added around windows around the whole building to allow light and views.
Okay. Well, overall, I think you guys did a great. Oh, I was gonna say, the one other thing I thought that you mentioned that was really cool were the motion sensor cameras that would kind of flip from chef to chef as they walked through the space, because that's always something, you know, how you cook in your home is different than how you cook on television. So I thought that was an interesting thing that you guys thought about. So I'll turn it over to Olivia.
Okay, thanks, Brooke. Yeah, you guys, great presentation. Very thoughtful about the way people are interacting with your space. I did have the same question about activating the riverfront and bringing people not only from, you know, the parking lot, but maybe a river walk perspective too. So just thinking about how desirable of a piece of real estate that is, and using it for all of its properties. I loved, you know, all the sustainability aspects. You guys really thought through that really well. That's a pretty large site. Did you discuss maybe what you would do with other pieces of that site, or is this phase one of a larger plan? If you had more time, is there something that you might consider adding to your space?
Yeah, so we were going to plan on having a like exterior garden as well. So this is really just like a phase one of our building it, and then having it grow on to build on with the environment around them.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, the only other thing I had noted here was schedule-wise, there could be some challenges with that site related to maybe some of the environmental conditions, the existing that you mentioned. So that's just something to take a look at. But I think overall, again, very well done. A lot of thought obviously went into all the pieces of this. So congratulations, you guys. You did a really nice job.
All right, thank you, Olivia. Michelle?
Hey, good morning. Again, I'll echo Brooke and Olivia. You guys really persevered through some difficult challenges, and I think gave us a really good presentation. I am very happy to see some of the details that you showed, especially on a facility like this with all the kitchen area, with the venting, the hoods in the kitchen, in a commercial kitchen, and the details with the cameras where people could actually pay attention and, you know, kind of hone in on what the chefs are doing. I did have a couple of questions related to your sustainability. The first one is you've got, and again, kudos to you to think about the grease traps and where the grease could be stored and then reused and recycled. What about the food waste? Was there any discussion about composting on the site?
We thought of incorporating it into the garden, the compost, since we do have like gardens and plants to maintain both indoors and outdoors. Any food that can be decomposed and used again for the soil would be very useful as well.
Great. And then and I asked this of another team as well, your site, the area you selected is in the map in the city of Jacksonville for being having major exposure related to sea level rise. Was there any discussion in looking at the design of your building on how you would address issues where that piece of property may be underwater in 20 to 30 years?
Yes, we talked to a mentor about that, and how, first of all, we had our building really close to the river, but we didn't realize that the ground was so uneven there. So we moved it closer to the inland where it was the highest point of our building.
Good. I just want to make sure that, and again, the question's more, did you, the fact that you talked about it, that's really great, because knowing that it's on your radar with all the things that are going on, that's very positive. And then I think my last thing was the budget. You gave us a blanket number. Did you actually do a detailed budget?
Well, we kind of got cut off in the middle of that with the virtual stuff, but we had a base figure based on just our square footage and material that we'd be using for the exterior. And alone, we just added in kitchens, like the number of stoves and equipment we'd have, and that's basically how we arrived at that figure. It's not super in depth.
Well, I appreciate it. I know you're working under challenging circumstances, and I echo everything that's been said. I love the idea of having the the upstairs where you could actually view and you could have people in without interfering with what the chefs are doing in the kitchens and giving that total access to people. So congratulations again on your concept and the work that you did to get it to this point. And I'm going to pass it on to Tom.
Hi guys. Again, as everybody said, awesome presentation. Really enjoyed it. Learned a lot. I'm sure you all learned a lot. As both Brooke, actually, as all the judges said, I too like the round concept. I think that makes a whole lot of sense. One of the things I noticed in the few outside views of the thing, it looks like you had most of your glass, perimeter glass, on the upper level. I didn't see as much on the lower level, and I was curious about that. If it was something that I missed, or if you actually intentionally didn't have much glass on the lower level.
I intentionally put more glass on the upper level just because more people would be up there. On the lower level, it was mainly for the restrooms and storage for cleaning supplies. So not many people were always going to be down there, only to check in.
Okay, thank you. So I'm an engineer, so I love a lot of the engineering features that went into it. Several people already talked about the automatic, turning on and off of the screens for the chefs where they were. But you'd use those underground storm tech chambers, which is a great way to flow, water through the system when there's heavy rain. And then as a structural engineer, I really like the stuff about the trusses to the roof and the use of both a tension and compression ring to support the structure. I thought that was awesome use of different aspects of engineering. I am interested, we talk about where you were when the world changed. How far along in the process were you guys when school stopped and you guys had to go virtual?
Really, we just had the cost estimate and the schedule to work on afterwards. We had mostly everything else completed. It was just the final touches that we needed to go through again.
Okay. And so how was the communication from that point forward? What techniques did you use to communicate, and how did it go? What were the good things? What were the things you wished were better?
Ingrid, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So we didn't have too many problems. Like, we mostly did it by email because one of our teammates didn't have it but couldn't text by phone. So we mostly did by email, and we had to depend everyone would be able to respond to the email and tell us that if we can join a meeting where we can practice and make sure everything is done. And we did have some trouble communicating with two of our teammates, but only one of them wasn't able to make it in the end. So I think everything went pretty smoothly except for some people not being able to come.
Thank you very much. That's all I have for you guys. Well done.
Thank you, Tom. Olivia, I understand you have another question.
Yeah, it's just a sort of a question and a comment. I wanted to commend you guys on your logo as well. I think that was really nicely done, especially considering the shape of your building. And I just wanted to know the inspiration behind that particular selection you made there.
So because we had it, we named the building the Culinary Summit of Jacksonville. Even though Florida doesn't have many hills, we still wanted to incorporate both the landscape of Florida as well as the circular design of the building. So you see it's like a half circle, such as the design of the building itself, but as well as including some sun rays that could look like flowers and like a field, since our place has a lot to do with like growing their own vegetables and then feeding it and sharing it with each other.
I loved it. That was really well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, well, if there's nothing else from any of the evaluators, we appreciate your time. We appreciate, again, all the students wrapping up the ACE program. We'll be in touch with the seniors next week that applied for scholarships, and we hope that you'll stay in touch with us, seniors, as you move on to your next phase, whatever that may be. And any underclassmen, maybe we'll see you back in person again next year.
Thank you very much, Creekside.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
So for all the other participants on the call, that completes team 2. Our next team, Cuisine Capital, is scheduled to log in at 10 after 10 for their 5 minutes of setup, and they'll begin presenting at 10:15. So we've got about a 10-minute break here. So go ahead and leave the meeting running. I'll stop the recording, and then we'll just likely mute our phones and cameras and just come back in 10 minutes. Thank you all.
This conference will now be recorded.
I'm Sean O'Donnell, and I was the project manager for our team. We are Cuisine Capital, and we've built a gastronomic center in downtown Jacksonville. So our overall vision was we wanted somewhere that was innovative in downtown Jacksonville, but it also helped give people insight to the different cultures that were in the area through the use of food. And we wanted inclusivity, so we wanted everybody in the area to be able to come to our building. With this, we chose this parcel of land, which happened to be down the street from the Duval County Public School Board, as well as down the street from the Mosh Museum and the River City Brewing Company, which is a fairly popular gathering place for residents in the Jacksonville area. Some of the site advantages was there's room for expansion. It's seen from a nearby highway, so it allows for like a lot of publicity, whereas people could just see it on the highway and take the next exit so they could come and see it. It's also, like I said, down the street from a few popular Jacksonville areas, and it's also on the river, which really allows for like a beautiful viewing section. So who we're serving is we are serving people from all different walks of life. We really just wanted to capture everyone in downtown Jacksonville area, or just anywhere who wants to come and learn about all the different types of food that are in Jacksonville. As you can see in this chart, it says 6.61% of Jacksonville residents are involved in food preparation and serving related occupations, which means that all of those people would be able to come in and they would just be able to teach people what they do and what kind of food they make. So this is a view of our parking. We wanted to incorporate something that not a lot of teams in the past have by adding this to our dynamic. We wanted to allow people to see like what exactly there would be. So, and as you can see in the middle, we added a little accessibility roundabout for disabled people. And on the sides, we created a lot of space for extra parking.
Okay, so I'm Casey, sorry for the lag, and I was the exterior designer of this project. So we went for more of a traditional design to include the Spanish influence, such as in St. Augustine and just on North Florida as a whole. So with this, we included columns around the whole ground floor of the building. In addition to this, we also have balconies at each level. We also included in our center a globe fixture at the very top by the rooftop garden and dining area. This shows just like the global influence that we would have, as it's a stained glass globe. Yeah, which would have exterior lighting. Okay, in addition to this, we would also have large windows almost floor to ceiling, which would show off the view that we have right on the water and which would be right above the balcony at each level. We would also have rooftop dining area, which would surround the globe fixture at the top, which would again show off the view that we have. And then here we also have a finished sketch of it all, which also includes the exterior staircase that we have leading to each level of the floors.
Hi, I'm Kevin Baker. I was the architect for
our group, and so we just tried to design an open concept building where you would walk in and be engulfed by its like majesty and its beauty. We have a lot of seating in the middle, and then over to the left of you, you would see the elevators so that you could get up to the other floors, and then around the sides would be rooms where you could actually have a showcase of the continents and their foods, so that we could see other cultures' foods. And then on the right side would be a loading dock for easy replacement of the kitchen.
Okay, so for the interior design of the first floor, we decided to keep an open concept to encourage the flow of people going from each continent. So for that, we kept food in the middle and then multiple eating spaces and options surrounding that on the ends. And we have multiple options, some more enclosed for a more intimate experience in traditional dining, and some more open and more casual for a more like come in and go experience. With this, just to heighten the amount of room that we have, we'll have tall ceilings and natural light from above showing off all the different sections that we have, which each has their own aesthetic and eating choices.
On the second floor, after coming out of the elevators, you would be able to step onto a catwalk that would show that would allow you to look down onto the first floor and admire it more. And on the sides of the building would be a large amount of classrooms that would actually be teaching in a conference style environment to allow you to cook and be taught how to cook different food. And then on the right side would be a kitchen that would for the staff to cook food for the entire building, and then more loading dock and storage area for food.
Okay. And for the interior design on the second level, since this is mainly more focused on cooking and the cooking experience, we add a mirror above each chef workspace so you can see what you're doing and see what other people are doing. This also encourages the open workspace and open concept that we would have, which is also heightened by the color palette that we would have, which is wooden counters with stainless steel appliances and the windows and white walls.
And then on the third floor, you would be able to eat and look out onto the city and onto the river, and really just have a nice dining experience while being able to see the city itself.
Kevin, I'm going
And
to
then
interrupt.
there'd be elevators for the staff and
You guys are at your 2-minute warning.
to get and sorry, what? Okay.
I think Kevin has a little bit of a lag, but you guys are about 1.5 minutes. We'll give you a few extra seconds for my interruption.
Some of the interior design elements that we wanted to incorporate was we wanted to have an open overlook of the river for the third floor. We just wanted to have an openness that isn't really seen around Jacksonville. We wanted to have a glass railing to protect the people from falling off, obviously, but we wanted to add intimacy of string lights as well to really set the mood for people.
Okay, so I'm Momly O'Hara, and I was on landscaping sustainability. So we have this outdoor kitchen, and the idea behind it is that outdoor cooking is a different side of cooking. It's an entirely different aspect. And since the driving point of the gastronomic center is to share cooking methods and cultures of the world, we wouldn't be doing that if we didn't address outdoor cooking. So there would be lots of different types of barbecue and grilling, wood fires, because there are parts of the world where that is how they cook. They don't really have access to anything else. So it's very important we address all that. Sustainable features, we have a community garden, which encourages farm-to-table food acquisition. I wanted a very steady aesthetic of this place. It's supposed to be organized, but still allowing guests to get their hands dirty and have the experience of planting something, farming something. We are going to have a green wall that absorbs pollutants. It is eye-catching and it's great for curb appeal. But yeah, it greatly decreases air pollution. There will be lots of windows so we can save electricity by using natural light. Indoor greenery keeps the air clean, and we'll have a water reuse system which saves water.
Basically, overall, we just wanted to create a space for people around Jacksonville to come and learn about what everyone else has in their culture and what everyone else uses through the media of food. Thank you, and if you have any questions, we'd love to answer them.
Sorry for the delay. All right, great job, team. Thank you very much. So we're going to turn it over to our evaluation committee, our four evaluators. We've got with us today Brooke Robbins, Olivia Frick, Michelle Tapuni, and Tom Grogan. And so we'll go in that same order. We'll turn it over to Brooke first for feedback and questions.
Well, good morning, guys, and thank you for coming today and doing your presentation. We know we've had some challenges in the last few months, and we appreciate you wanting to finish and do present to us what you've been working on. So I really like your project. I think it's very insightful that your inclusivity of different cultures and different walks of life, different types of people, and that sort of thing. That's always kind of the key question when you're first starting a project, is who are we designing for? It's not, the same facility doesn't work for everyone. So I think that's a key question to ask yourself, no matter what type of project you're doing, is who is it for and who's going to be using it. So I think I appreciate that you guys took special care with that. And then I really like how you guys have incorporated kind of the community aspect and working with that inclusivity kind of concept of the community garden, and bringing the outside in and the sustainability features. And then I really like, it was the one slide, the interior slide, kind of that showed your thoughts on the interior design. It had a very European feel of open markets, and so in Europe, a lot of the huge department stores have all of these 3-4 story atrium spaces with different displays of different food types and that sort of thing. So in other countries, food it's not separate from all of your other shopping. It's all integrated together. So you might go shopping for a scarf and a pastry at the same time. So I like that concept that you guys had with that. And then I really did like your rooftop, addressing the river. You have a great site there, and you want to take advantage of it. That's something Jacksonville doesn't do too well, is allowing people to access to the river. So I think with your outside balconies and your use of windows and the rooftop garden was a really great way to address your site and how it would interact with its environment around it, which is always something you want to ask yourself, is where am, kind of that same question of who am I serving, but where am I and what's around me and how do I react with that? So I think you guys did a really great job. So I didn't really have any questions for you, so I'll pass it on to Olivia, but thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, incredibly well done, guys. I can't wait for the place to open. I'm ready to go. I had mostly just a couple of comments regarding, I think your programming of each one of your floors was really excellent. So you're traveling through the space and getting different experiences, but also kind of being able to look on to what else is happening. So there's just a lot of activity in the space, and you're seeing that and feeling that from the inside and outside, which I think is important when you're talking about this this type of space. So I think that was incredibly well done. I mean, I'm going to echo Brooke's comments. The riverfront is starving for rooftop dining options, and I think that was really well thought out. I loved the green walls outside, so making it very interesting and being able to see that from, I think you mentioned being able to see that from 95 and being able to draw people in from all different directions. The indoor-outdoor cooking, that's another one of the things that I thought was really incredible. I mean, instead of, bringing it in with food trucks or whatnot, you are really using all the different types of cooking options to bring people in, and just thinking about how when something as simple as cooking steaks and you are walking outside and you smell it, it draws in. So I think that's another really great way to capture an audience. And then my final comment, I mean, I just have so excited about this. At first I was really questioning the globe on the rooftop, but then I thought where you guys brought in your proximity to TIA Bank Field and how many times that a blimp flies over for games and activities, and being able to see a landmark like that, from a high perspective is going to be a very interesting place that when people see it on TV, when they come to visit Jacksonville, they're going to want to go to your space. So I just think you guys really thought through the ways to attract people, and just very well done, guys. Excellent job. No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Man, no questions. Twice in a row.
Thank you.
All right, Michelle.
I'm going to break the streak. First, congratulations. I echo everything that's already been said. So excited about what you put together and your concept. I love that you have inclusive in your title, but then you actually showed inclusivity not only in your means and methods for cooking and the types of food you would have from around the globe, but also the different styles from the area. I know in your narrative you mentioned St. Augustine, the Spanish influences, but you also thought about issues related to the disabled and people that might have a hard time getting in and out of buildings. So you were very thoughtful in how you had access from your parking lot. You've got elevators going up to the third floor, so people wouldn't feel like they were limited and being able to really enjoy this venue. So congratulations on that. Those are great details that I think sometimes get lost in the fun stuff, getting down to the nitty gritty of the things people really need. And, even to the practical detail of the loading dock, how you're going to get product in and out and how you're going to get equipment in and out. So very well done on details of operational issues. I did have a question related to, and I've asked every team this, so sorry for everyone that's heard this now 3 times. Again, this is a piece of property in downtown Jacksonville that being addressed under sea level rise is probably an area that will be underwater in the not too distant future. Did you have any discussions related to sea level rise and maybe looking at design elements for dealing with that in the next 20 to 30 years? You guys will still be young.
We talked about, basically when we went over like our property and we did background research on our property, we talked about a lot of things regarding structural and regarding how we would actually build a building, and we thought we would really just address that kind of as more of a background information slide later on, but we never really got to it because of the whole situation. And so it was a little harder, but we had some structural elements that we thought would be good for it. But unfortunately, our team member who was in charge of that decided not to continue. And so we lost a little bit of that with that.
Well, it's great that you discussed it, and I think that's really where we're trying to get with. We understand you've had a lot of challenges. I'm going to assume that there's a similar answer related to that there's no schedule or budget being presented, or did you want to elaborate on that at all?
Yeah, I had made a basic one, but I tried last minute to make a basic budget and schedule, but it just didn't look as good as we could have made it look. And so I decided to just leave it out altogether because I decided that it was a better aesthetic for our entire presentation rather than to just throw in something that looks kind of childish.
Well, again, you know, we all get what we're dealing with. I'm so proud of what you put together here, and I'm very excited that, you know, that you guys really thought through the details, and I can't get over the piece about the inclusivity and that you showed that in your design. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tom? Hey, Tom, we can't hear you, Tom. Still can't hear you. All right, still nothing, Tom. We might have to give him another minute here, see if we can get it online. Otherwise, we might have to skip Tom this round.
I threw in with a quick question. What was your resource for? I think one of the slides you had actually had what looked like some market data. Where did you get that where did you source that information from?
So I found it on the I found it on it was like a Jacksonville like population page. It was actually a really interesting website. I found a lot of different things on there that included like the percentage of people who are working, aren't working, the percentage of people who work in different things, a lot of ergonomics of Jacksonville. It was a really interesting site, but I decided to use that one to portray that we have that 6% of Jacksonville population working in food production, because that was what we wanted to help encompass in our building.
Yeah, I think that was so great, and you'll find when you start working on different projects, especially from a development side, it's fun if you like data, but you know, it's like when you go to a census tract and kind of really get a feel of who lives in the area and what they do and how big the families are, and then you also then start seeing the disparities, which goes back to your inclusivity and income and other things. So again, you rarely see that in a presentation. I meant to actually congratulate you on that as well. I think that was a really great detail to include in your presentation. So thank you.
Thank you.
Did that buy enough time for Tom?
Apparently not. That guy's giving us all kinds of trouble today.
Can you unmute him?
Great job.
Thank you. All right, well, everybody, we really appreciate, again, you guys finishing the program this year. We look forward to seeing, I'm not sure if all of you are seniors or not, but if you're not a senior, hopefully we'll see you back next year. If you are a senior, we'll get back to you next week about scholarships, and we hope that you'll stay in touch with us as you continue on in your career with whatever path you choose. So thank you all very much.
Great job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, we're the SS Inc. engineers, and our project is the Shipyard Culture Exchange Gastronomic Center.
So hi, my name is Grayson Johnston. I was tasked with interpreting the RFP and then incorporating sustainable aspects in our project. So many of you guys might have a very limited understanding of what a gastronomic center is, but a gastronomic center is often compared to a restaurant. However, it is much more than a restaurant. It's also a location that facilitates cultural exchange and cultural education. And that's really the way that the RFP was scripted and the way that we interpreted it as a team in the course of our project. So our site is located right along the San Sebastian River in historic St. Augustine. You can see the gray warehouse on our PowerPoint. The warehouse was torn down, and our gastronomic center will sit right where the gray warehouse is.
Hi, I'm Sonia Wadwa. I'm the project manager as well as understanding the finance and scheduling behind this project. I'd like to explain to you the significance of this site. So where this site was used to be an old warehouse that was extremely important in the 1950s. The warehouse manufactured shrimp boats that aided the seafood industry. So our goal with the Gastronomic Center is to capture those aspects and promote that Florida living with our building.
I'm Jonathan Schuster, and I was in charge of the exterior design and the writing of the narrative. For the vision of our project, we were wanting a shipyard-themed center, one that revolves around the area of St. Augustine and promotes the historical aspects of our site and it being an old shipyard facility. Also, we would have our gastronomic center have multiple cultures learning about the four major ones that influence St. Augustine, that are the Spanish, the French, Native American, and the British/American, as well as other cultures, and learning about their distinct aspects and culinary parts. And for the ethnic food experience, we would be using all of the foods from each of the cultures to provide the visitors with different types of food.
Hi, I'm Melissa Buckingham. I'm one of the architects and interior designers. The first floor will consist of the restaurants, bar, and restrooms. The restaurants will be shaped in a pod-like formation around the bar, and the restrooms are in the corners. The circular shape of the room will provide for a good flow throughout the building, making sure nothing gets too crowded. The second floor will consist of a stage and an outdoor eating area. The stage and the outdoor eating area gives an alternate place to dine, and the stage will be where chefs can teach and show an audience.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Reed. I was tasked with creating the Revit drawing. This is the 3D model of our building. Our building is approximately 15,000 square feet. The glass walls on the outside allows the guest on the inside to have a full dining experience and be able to see everything outside of our building, including the ecological aspects, including the San Sebastian River. And this is our logo for our building and what the guests would see as they enter our gastronomic center.
For the exterior of our design, we were wanting a front yard that has many shipbuilding aspects, such as an anchor or a ship, to symbolize the history of St. Augustine and its shrimping industry. We would also have shape hedges, like in the sense of the shipyard theme. And we would also have an entrance with palm trees that would line the way into the parking lot for the visitors to see and connect with Florida and its natural trees. For the backyard, we would have an outdoor eating area for anyone who wants to eat out with nature. And then we would have a producing vegetable garden, which would provide any of the side dishes we need for any of the entrees we create. And we would also have in the backyard a waterfront docking area, which would be for the transportation of any goods we need throughout the San Sebastian River and many of the other waterways in St. Augustine.
The interior design will have an industrial look to help portray the shipyard theme, meaning it will have features like neutral colors, exposed ventilation, and metal chairs. We want it to feel like it's still the old shipyard, yet more inviting and new.
Hi, I'm AT, and I'm the mechanical and electrical engineer. So heating, ventilating, and air conditioning account for 39% of the energy used in buildings in the U.S. For our project, we decided to go with a rooftop HVAC system. Our project will include conduits that are plastic or metal tubing, big enough to contain electrical wiring. These conduits will house commercial wiring with TTHT coating on it. Thermal heat resistant nylon coating that is much more durable than the wiring household.
So for our civil aspect of the project, we'll have drains around the building that will manage the rainwater offset by our structure. We will also have exterior drains that will transport the water to some of the nearby waterways around the edges of the property. And then a harvester tank that will aid in irrigation and then also to mitigate our stormwater management. And then we'll have water from all the interior drains go straight through the St. Augustine sewage system. For sustainability, we decided to use new and innovative technology in our design. Our design will feature smart glass windows that will auto tint when exposed to UV rays, a solar heat exchanger on the roof to preheat our hot water, so that way we don't have to run the hot water heater as much, a cool roof, and a CO2 monitor on our ventilation to kind of manage our light refraction, but also manage how many people are in there at a time and how much we need to be ventilating for the amount of people in the building. We also have determined ways to reduce waste through compost of excess food. We would save about $4,000 per ton of food, which is a lot of money and a lot of food that would normally go to waste that we're reusing and using to build up our gastronomic center. And then recycled rainwater from our stormwater harvester tank from civil engineering to help irrigate.
Keeping the sustainability in mind, the gastronomic center that we will build will cost around anywhere from $8 million to $9 million. This being said, the scheduling of the project would last 12 months in construction, with 2 months prior to that being permitting. So if the construction were to start on May 1st, 2020, the conclusion would be around February 2021.
All in all, our team worked very well together and that we were very cohesive and very communicative and helping each other with each other's problems. Like if someone had a problem, we would all chip in and help them with it because their success means our success as a whole. We also complied with every aspect of the RFP and our PowerPoint and narrative and design of the project. However, the small issue that we had was that their structure was a little too large and was encroaching on the property lines. However, if we had more time, we were going to be able to fix this issue. But this also provides a good opportunity for learning for any future problems or projects that we can improve on.
In conclusion, the SS Inc. engineers gave you the Shipyard Gastronomic Center to promote healthy eating and a cultural experience like no other to remind you why you love Florida in the first place. And we're done.
Awesome. Great job. Thank you very much. So we, as mentioned earlier, we've got a team of 4 evaluators, 4 industry professionals on the call with us today to provide feedback and ask questions, joined by Brooke Robbins, Olivia Frick, Michelle Tapuni, and Tom Grogan. And so we'll go around in that order, starting with Brooke.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for being with us this morning. We really appreciate the work you put into your project and working together to finish it up for us so that we could see, what you had done this term. So just a few comments. I really like your historical context, how you looked at the area that you were in with St. Augustine, and it is a melting pot. It's always one of those places that people from all over the world come to. So I think that's an interesting aspect to look into, especially the shipbuilding side of it. Excuse me. So I really like how you kind of, latched on to that piece of the project. And again, I think tying it in with the riverfront, I mean, that's a very, part of life in St. Augustine is how you interact with the water. Downtown St. Augustine is right on the water, so you have the river walk and that sort of thing. So I like how you thought about the exterior, how you approach the building, but also between the building and the riverfront, the landscaping, and outdoor garden space, and that sort of thing as well. And I also like your thought about the energy responsibility, that how you would, use the mechanical systems to evaluate the number of people in the building to modify it so you're not overheating or overcooling the building. That's something that becomes very important as energy gets more expensive, and ties back into just the social responsibility of the building. So I think you guys did a really great job. I don't really have any questions for you, but again, really like that you looked into the historical context of the property and the location. So. Olivia?
Hi guys, great job. I have a couple comments and just a few brief questions. A tremendous job. I really liked the overall concept, and what I wanted to note, which I haven't mentioned to any of the teams before, I think the format of your presentation was really nice. So it was nice and clean. You used some really cool kind of logos or graphics throughout the presentation that made it look really cohesive, and it told your story for your brand, and I think that was really important. I thank you for the explanation of the center. I think when we all got the RFP, we immediately looked it up to make sure we had a good understanding of it, but you may be dealing with people on the other end who do not typically have that, so I like that you brought that into the beginning of your presentation. That was really important. I think the windows all the way around are great. You have a beautiful site, and I think it's important that people are able to look in and see the activity as well as look out and see the activity. So that was very well thought out. The grounds of the property, I think you did a really nice job programming all that. A couple of the questions I had, just thinking about how you would draw people to the site. How are they going to know that it's there? Is this just typically they're going to be boating by or driving by? How do you anticipate drawing people to your space?
Okay. Well, it's visible from the water, so it would be people boating by. The area by the street is not very visible, but it would be one of the bigger buildings in the area, so it would draw some attention. Obviously, just being a bigger building, being put where it is. So we're expecting the scale of the building to draw attention, and then also its visibility from the river and from St. Augustine.
Also the landscape architecture, as well as like the shipbuilding aspects, maybe having them like right next to our property, and maybe a little bit larger to draw people in and just like interest them and see, oh, what's that, and then they go to it.
Okay, excellent. The other question I had was about your cool roof. Can you talk just briefly about that? I know that was a really neat feature, and I was interested in hearing a little bit more about that.
So it's one of the features that we incorporated. It's basically a coating, because we have our rooftop HVAC, but aside from that, it's a coating that we put on the roof that reflects the sunlight. Instead of getting it absorbed by the roof, it will reflect it back. So it's not completely reflective like a mirror, but it does make the roof less hot and make the interior of the building less hot.
Okay, excellent. Well, again, I think you guys did a great job. I like the reflection at the end. That was really well done, where you said, look, if we had more time or situation may have been different, we did a study of ourselves. So really kudos on that as well. You guys, great job.
Thank you, Olivia. Michelle?
Hey guys, congratulations for getting this done through these challenging times. I echo the comments from Brooke and Olivia. I did, especially the tie-in of the historical content, mentioning not only knowing that the French, the British, the Spanish, and the Native American populations that really congregated, and others, and the rich history in St. Augustine. So I think it's great that you captured that, and those cultural variations. I did have a couple of questions related to your budget. Did you include, since this is a shipbuilding area, did you include anything related to environmental remediation, just based on what we have in Jacksonville? Anything on the water that had shipbuilding has contaminated? Any thoughts on that?
Any takers?
I think Sonia's talking. I think her mic's muted.
Oh. Sonia, I think you're muted. But if Sonia stays muted, there has been construction teams through the area since it was a shipbuilding site, because like the warehouse has been torn down, and we're pretty certain that the warehouse that was there, the gray one from our site location pictures, is not the original shipbuilding site. We were just aware that it is a shipyard from the 50s. That's what the site was in the 50s, but it's been built on since then. So it hasn't been used for shipbuilding in a long time.
So just a note for you guys moving forward, that's usually how you end up finding buried contamination, is stuff that's been there way beforehand. So when you're assessing a site, you'll want to make sure that someone's in there doing those tests for you. So the other thing was I'm asking every team this because almost everyone's putting something on the waterfront. Again, you're in St. Augustine. One of their biggest issues that they've been worrying about is sea level rise and how they could be underwater in 20 to 30 years. Was there any discussion among the team on how to revise or look at your design related to that?
We did reduce the scope of the building a little bit because it was, as we said in reflection, it was very big when we drew it up. So we did reduce the scope, and we focused on the drainage of the building and the ways that would work. But as far as looking at the St. Augustine permits and stuff, we didn't do that as much. So definitely moving forward, we would have to take that into consideration as an aspect of our design, incorporating the rising sea level and how our building will affect that. As of right now, I don't think we have a very significant effect, but it is something that we can take into account.
Great, and I want to congratulate you again. I loved what you put in your sustainability plan, mentioning again with the type of facility that will be, that you've got composting and all of the other sustainable equipment and items that you're bringing in. So with all these challenges, I can't tell you enough how great we think have done with this, to be able to do all of this through these different unexpected, I guess challenge is the word of the day, right? So thanks again, and I enjoyed it. And Tom, you're up.
Thank you. First, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Last group, they were unable to hear me, so the questions went great. Anyway, so a couple things. I really liked the interior, the old shipyard feel. I thought that was a good approach that you guys took. I liked some of the engineering features, like the preheating of the hot water. I thought that was very clever. I also liked the use of the variable tinting glass, which will actually help on the super sunny days and the days where it's less, it's less warm, then you don't have to tint the windows as much. Two main questions that I had for you guys is, can you talk a little bit about the harvester tank and what you and how that was going to work? What what were you talked about using that for some of the, I'll call it like reclaimed water.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was a harvester tank or it was a reserve pond, and we figured that since we were draining water, a harvester tank would create it underground instead of it being above ground, because we wanted to incorporate more exterior design aspects and outdoor eating. So we would use the harvester tank and the water would flow from the drain underground to our tank. And then when we needed it for irrigation to irrigate the landscape features, it would be there.
Very good, thank you. And last question I had for you guys had to do with the shape of the building. It was kind of interesting to me. You picked an oval, and I was curious about the thought process that went into that.
Alyssa, I know you said it in your slide about the flow. Do you want to say that again?
Yeah, the circular shape we thought would provide a good flow throughout the building. It made it very not congested, I felt.
Okay. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is how far along were you guys with the project prior to when school stopped? How far along was the project, and how difficult was the transition? What were the things that went really well? What were the things that you guys had to improve upon as a team once you could no longer meet face to face?
I believe that we had almost finished the project. We had some issues like with the scale of the building, but most of everything was already done. We just had to like complete the closing slide and maybe some pictures or some just a little adjustments, which we used through PowerPoint and through its sharing options. So it wasn't that much of an issue, and the meeting parts weren't also that much of an issue as well, because we all could pick a time and we could all meet then. So I would say it affected us, yes, a little bit, because we couldn't create anything else. We couldn't make it smaller, the building smaller. However, we were kind of already finished mostly, so we kind of already had a good project before coronavirus.
Good. Thank you for that. I really appreciate all the hard work you put into this. Great job.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you very much, everybody on the team. The seniors that applied for scholarships, you'll hear something next week. Those that aren't seniors, we hope to see you back next year, hopefully back in person. Thank you again for the evaluators' participation. As far as the time goes, we're right on track. We're going to take another 5-minute break, and then at 11, we will resume with the Nice Panthers team and give them 5 minutes to get set up. The next presentation will begin at 11:25. Thank you.
Thank you, Creekside.
Nice team, can we get everybody to just double check your mics and double check your cameras?
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Smine.
This conference will now be recorded.
So, hello and good morning, judges. My name is Smayan Gupta. I'm a junior at Nice High School, and when I grow up, I'd like to work in the architectural field. My role in this project was basically managing and making sure everyone was doing their part and making sure they knew exactly what they were doing, as well as working on the presentation.
Hi, my name is Palak Sharma, and I'm a junior. I want to pursue architecture in the future, and I worked on the garden and presentation of the project as well.
Hi, my name is Srinivas Kuntumukula, and I'm also a junior.
I too assisted in kind of the architecture, but later on I moved into taking more of a presenter's role in the project, and I also want to become an architect when I grow up.
Hello, my name is Luke Coulter, and was the lead architect in the convention center, and I would like to grow up to design buildings, and I'd like to be an architect when I grow up.
Hi, my name is Brianna Powell. I'm a junior, and when I grow up, I want to be an aerospace engineer or an architect. And in this project, I designed the museum.
I am Matthew Hovis. I am a senior, our only senior, and I am going to become a civil engineer. I worked mainly on the garden part, the garden park area, and I also assisted with a lot of the technical stuff with Revit and things like that. I believe that's all of us.
So on behalf of our Nice Panthers team, we would like to present the National Pavilion of Jacksonville. So before we begin, here's a brief overview of what we'll be covering today. We're going to be talking about the ACE program and how it's been a big part of how the mentors have helped us strive to become, to help us where we are today. We're going to move on to explain how we divided our teams based on skill sets, what our inspiration for the design was, where we decided to construct the pavilion in Jacksonville, and then move on to explaining the specifications and what exactly the design consists of, and ending the presentation off by giving an estimate of how much it's going to cost and also how long would it take to build.
Okay, the ACE Mentor program is devoted to promoting the fields of architecture, construction, and engineering in America's young learners. Experienced professionals work together to guide students through the architectural design process so that students can create a presentable end product, while also learning about the field of interest and how it would present itself in the real world. Our challenge this year was to design one of the following 3 project options: a water resource management and preservation facility, a gastronomic center, or a national pavilion. After much deliberation and many debates, where we researched the pros and cons of each project, we chose to tackle the National Pavilion in order to symbolize the United States in the 21st century and create a connection between our history, our present, and our future that reflects the essence of being American.
So in the beginning of the project, we divided ourselves into various skill sets which we thought represented us in this project. So Matthew was given the role of the head architect, as he was the one who is in the Nice Academy, the engineering academy, for all 4 years, and he was the most experienced at Revit. However, as the project progressed, we moved on to not moving outside our comfort zone and helping everyone with various aspects of the project, because so we can all finish the project and come together to give you a full product. So our inspiration for the project, so our pavilion consists of an event space, a museum, a restaurant, and a garden. The polyhedric tents that we have for the event space and the open garden symbolize the organic, free-flowing nature of America. As you can see in the pictures, the bottom right is the beautiful Central Park of Manhattan. We tried to mimic that into our design because we thought it gave a good representation of the nature and beauty that we have here in Florida. And the convention center, we wanted to mimic that of the Orange County Convention Center or Orlando. Since this convention center also hosts various events, we also wanted to give that feel for citizens of Jacksonville as well.
Okay, so the site, that obviously picking the site is one of the most important aspects of the design process. After a lot of discussion, a lot of deliberation, we decided that we wanted to pick a site in downtown Jacksonville. So we picked a site to the right of the Jacksonville Landing area in a currently unused plot of land along the river. So by developing this land, we can kind of turn in a property which is right now an eyesore and it's really empty, not being used for anything functionally. We can transform it into something that's aesthetically pleasing and it would do a service to the community in general. So another attractive aspect of our site is that it's really close to a lot of the other Jacksonville landmarks, such as the Jaguar Stadium, the baseball field, Metropolitan Park. So the fact that it's really close to all these other areas, it can really help to increase foot traffic and increase the number of people who come to visit our pavilion. And the area already has a lot of parking options, and there are also plans for Metropolitan Park to be renovated, so we can kind of capitalize on those renovations by renovating the area next to it too.
So here is the final Revit rendering of our project. As you can see, we have the convention center as the main part of the building, and then the mounted tent for the event space to the left, with the museum spiraling to the outwards, and then the garden to the right.
So the convention center is a huge two-story structure which is designed to hold a lot of people, considering the amount of attractions that are around the building. So it's a place for everyone to free flow around the building and interact, and the welcome center is in the center of everything, so everyone can really free flow around the building. It's covered in glass, which gives it this modernistic design, which allows everyone to look out, and it creates like an open building that kind of connects with the city. And the shape of it gives it an organic shape despite it being man-made. The roundness of the building gives it free flowing. Right, go ahead. We've taken a lot into consideration about energy and
This
the
is your
environmental
2-minute
impact of
warning.
this building. So the
Sorry,
environmental
2 minutes.
impact is one of the biggest considerations nowadays. So we have considered there's a huge roof that is available for many solar panels, and the interior building is wide open for people to walk around, and it's a really open building. So the restaurant is this huge room. There's actually multiple restaurants, but the main restaurant is upstairs, and there's actually a in and outdoor bar for Jaguars fans to come celebrate after their one win of the season. There's so many people that can go sit in the restaurant, and which can really generate a lot of revenue for the cost of construction and to pay back the city for the cost of this building.
So the museum part of our building rises up from the convention center in a spiral, and the spiral represents the ever-growing country that we live in. And as people walk along it, they'll be taken on a journey throughout our history. But when they start, they will be in a sort of movie kind of room that will cover the history that's not in the museum. So the history before the 1920s. And the museum exhibits in periods starting at the 1920s, like I said. And as visitors walk through the museum, they'll be put into an interactive experience from one to the next. And then from then, they can walk into the very top part, which is the technology area, which represents the future that we are heading in and are currently in. And along the way through the museum, visitors will be able to look out into their surroundings through the countless windows in it, and those windows represent the absence of restriction on Americans.
Your 10 minutes is up.
Does somebody want to just take like a 1 minute, maybe Smile, to just kind of click through the rest of your slides?
Sure.
Event space, getting into the
Brief explanations, mine, of each slide, 10 seconds each.
So the event space that we had was meant to be for housing concerts and various events that people can go to and enjoy their time, as well as a drive-through movie theater. The garden we had was meant to reflect an individual's connection with nature. We had a fountain in the middle with various statues and trees and plants that represent Florida's like popular plants as well. The specifications, square footage was 111,400 square feet. As I said, we had the fountain in the middle. And then our whole project was environmental friendly, as we had various, for example, we had the solar panels from the museum, and then we had the rain water drainage system where from the museum to the garden, where fresh rainwater would be collected and then later be used to water the plants in the garden. So the estimate that we had in total was rounded off to about $31 million. And the estimated time of construction was 17 months. And this is just a conclusion of, quick conclusion of what our pavilion was. And then a huge shout out and thank you to all our mentors, and especially Tim for sticking through us to the end.
Awesome. All right, great. Thank you very much. Wrapping it up. We're now going to turn it over to our 4 evaluators. So with us today, we've got Brooke Robbins, Olivia Frick, Michelle Tapuni, and Tom Grogan. And with Brooke.
Morning, guys, and thank you for coming this morning. We appreciate all your hard work this year, and that you wanted to continue on and finish your project and show us what you had done. We always look forward to the end of the year, seeing the results of your work and the mentors and all of that. So just a few comments, and one thing I wanted to point out that I really liked about your project is you had a lot of pieces. You had the event center, the museum, the restaurant, the garden. But what I really liked about it was how you integrated them all together. Because a lot of times we'll see, where they're split apart. The museum's over here, the restaurant's over here. You kind of have to walk from one to the other. And especially Florida with our weather, the heat and the rain, and all of that. I really like how you integrated all of these different aspects together. So if you're there, for the convention and you have a break, you can go up to the restaurant or you can go pop into the museum for a few minutes. So I think that was a really, really interesting way that you integrated the different aspects of your pavilion together. And then again, the sustainability feature, the solar panels, it's always great to integrate those types of things, and rainwater collection. Those are, like I said, 2 things we have: sun and rain here in Florida. So those are, to take advantage of that is really, I'm glad you paid attention to that. So overall, great job. The only comment I would say, which we run into this ourselves, is you guys did run out of time. So just as a, kind of future note, when you're putting presentations together, and we do this ourselves, because we have presentations like this where we're allotted a 15-minute presentation, and then there's 15 minutes for questions. So a good kind of rule of thumb is a slide per minute. So if you have 10 minutes, you have 10, maybe 12 slides, because there might be kind of your introductory slide that you just flip past. So to really, pick and choose your points that you really want to get across and emphasize, and try to narrow down the amount of content. I know we spent a lot of time working on it, and there's a lot that you want to share with us, but we want to kind of see the whole picture. So to try to think about that and just kind of look at that, where the time you're given versus how much information you want to share with us, and just take a look at that, because we run out of time too. It's happened before, you know, in professional presentations where we've run out of time, and there's always that one more thing that you want to get across. So so you always, a lot of times we'll kind of have signals to each other. You know, we had Catherine on the line, hey, you're at your 2-minute mark, but a lot of times internally you'll have a, you know, one person's responsible for looking at the clock to kind of wave to the main speaker, hey, you're starting to run out of time. So just think about that when you're putting presentations together so that you have time to get your point across. So, but overall, great project. Like I said, I really like how you integrated everything together and thought about it as a cohesive whole. So, so I'll pass it over to Olivia.
Thanks, Brooke. Well, welcome to the ACE Mentor Program, guys. Thank you so much for sticking it out and putting together this presentation. And I'm glad that someone selected the National Pavilion. I was kind of waiting today to see another one of those. So I just have a couple of quick questions for you guys. You mentioned parking, and you said that, you know, because downtown has ample parking, but when I think of a convention space, you know, you have a lot of traffic and people moving in and out of the space for the convention. Did you consider access for vendors or people bringing, I mean, sometimes you have like RV shows and things like that. Did you plan for access off Bay Street, which is fairly difficult to maneuver during certain times of the day?
Who wants to address that question?
I don't think we like paid close attention to like the RV like specified parking like that, but since the pavilion is like very near the stadium, and then there's like parking for the baseball field and things, we've generally based it off people can park there and then head to the pavilion.
So going back to the big picture with the lot, on the other side of the event space, there's actually plenty of room for people to bring cars or whatever they would like, and there's a big empty field on the opposite side of the event space.
Yeah, and I love the activation of that space, because it's downtown is as we, you know, continue to build up that space. I'm just thinking, you know, what if it's, you know, you've got a convention on game day, or there's a baseball game, and just kind of thinking about the traffic perspective moving through that space, just when you're planning for people who are entering and leaving as exhibitors and whatnot. So that was kind of my question related to parking. I love, I did like Brooke, I love the museum idea. A lot of times people between sessions have this extra time, and so we're just wandering the halls looking for something to do. So being able to tell Jacksonville's story, I really love that idea. My other question was, did you consider at all roof access from the museum, just for another way for people to kind of get outside and get some fresh air? I love the gardens on the first floor, but what about any rooftop space to access?
Yes, I actually put in plans. You could put grass on top of the roof and kind of have these tent kind of things with a bunch of different little rooftop stores, so you can buy like a little ice cream stand, and there actually is rooftop access from the museum building, and there are railings you can walk all the way around that roof, or the main roof of the building.
Okay, excellent. Well, again, I think you guys did an amazing job, and I appreciate everybody's input on this, and we look forward to seeing you guys next year.
Thank you, Olivia. Michelle?
Hi, guys. Great job. And thanks again for hanging through the year with all the challenges. And we're really grateful, really glad to have Nice as part of the program now. I think downtown really needs a new convention center. It's a big topic in the Jacksonville area, whether we need it. Anyone that's been to our old convention center knows we need it. I agree with Olivia and Brooke, the idea of a multi-use where when you're in between sessions, you have a place to go, and incorporating a museum and gardens and really activating that riverfront. Very well done. And I like where you were going with your concept and the design influences you were using. A couple of questions. That site is very well known to be in a coastal high hazard area. There's actually been talk about why we're even building anything on the river in that area. Did you guys have any discussion about that related to sea level rise, since it is a designated high hazard area?
Yes, that was one of our major considerations when we were designing it, really. So sea levels rise on average about an inch every 3 years or so. So we wanted to just kind of build the whole design on elevated ground up 2 feet or 3 feet. 2 feet or 3 feet to kind of mitigate the rise of sea level, and we could kind of combat it. And because it's really important, especially when we have a garden, to make sure that there's not salt water entering into the garden, because that would really ruin the garden. Really, it would be harmful for the plants. So we just decided that we would build the whole structure on a little bit of an elevation to try to prevent the rising sea levels, and we also included that into our estimates.
That's great that you guys considered it. That's very good to hear. The other issue is that site is well known in the past to be had a lot of shipbuilding, shipyard. Actually, the property I think adjacent to that is called the shipyard. Is there anything in your budget related to remediation of the contamination that's there?
Who wants to field that question?
I think Mego is one that deals with the budget, so.
I think for some reason Mega left. So we did not. I do not think we considered that. I did not see anything about that, but that would be a there would be a relatively easy way to fix that. I know that wouldn't be too costly or too long to do, so that would not be a huge fallback in the construction of the building.
Yeah, I'd be interested to, well, I would just suggest, just as you're moving forward in your careers, that environmental remediation is usually very expensive and it can bust a budget really quickly. So just something to keep in mind when you're going into areas that have had some industrial work. Thank you for that. And then I noticed something in your on your organizational chart. I didn't see anything related to someone that's really looking at constructability on the construction side. Did I just miss it? Or were you really just focused more on the design side of this? Boy, I have good questions today.
I think we focused more on like the design aspect of it. We focused on how we can make it a little bit more environmental friendly using all like the systems we implemented. But like what you asked about the constructability part, I don't think that was our major like focus on the project.
I mean, but
yes.
we did consider it. It was a consideration we made, especially Matthew,
Yeah.
and also Anish. Both of them. Anish was kind of on the engineering team, but also Matthew did a really good job trying to make sure that everything we were building was feasible and that it was doable and that it was constructible. So I don't know if he wants to build on that a little bit.
Would you mind moving the PowerPoint so we can see like the slides?
We did consider a lot of like the weight loads and stuff, especially with the second floor overhanging over the bottom floor. So we had somebody come in and kind of help us with weight distribution on the front part of the building. And we know that this can be built without any structural difficulties. The only thing that would probably be difficult is the spiral. But other than that, I think everything could be made it's pretty feasible to be made.
We actually had
Well,
the
thank you again. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we actually had the convention center looking out onto the water or kind of like over the water, but we pushed it back for those reasons. And we also had a concrete border around our site, which would eliminate the cost for that and already provide sort of a foundation.
Great, very thoughtful. Well, thank you and congratulations again. I'm going to turn it over to Tom because I think we're starting to run short on time. Thanks again.
Hi guys, I'll go ahead and be brief. Really enjoyed your presentation. I really liked your discussion on site selection and the use of the surrounding areas, both the stadium, Metropolitan Park, the ballpark, as why you put it where you did. I love the concept of the spiral stairs. So you got a convention center, and then all of a sudden you got this whole thing about the history, whether it's U.S. history or Jacksonville history. I think that's a really, really clever use of the space. I am the structural engineer. That can be built. I'd gladly help you do that next year. But no, I think you guys did a good job with that. There was one slide, and it was an exterior slide. It had this kind of cool looking weaving shape. And I was just curious what that was. If you show one of the landscape pictures.
Go to the garden spine. He's talking about the arches.
Yeah, that thing, that right on the, yeah. What is that? That's the spine of what?
Okay, so the garden, basically we wanted to show kind of like the sunshine state. So the pathways going like that was to symbolize like sun rays and stuff and kind of show how our place in Jacksonville is like bigger like our place in Florida.
The arcs basically represent
the arcs.
The arcs, I kind of wanted the arcs to represent a wave because we're right on the waterfront. So
Okay.
it just kind of adds a nice wave-like geometry to the park. And that's
Very
where
good.
the
Very good.
picnic area is too. So it's a place you can eat, have a picnic at, and just appreciate the art looking onto the water.
Okay, so I know we're running out of time for questions. Matthew, one thing I wanted to offer to you, you said you're going to go into civil engineering and you're going to start college next year. That's the field that I chose. So if offline you have questions or anything, I'll be happy to help you with any of the questions you might have about civil engineering.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, my name is Timothy Jacob, the project manager of New Dimensions. Next slide, please. We determined that Jacksonville needs an iconic building that would inspire and unite multiple generations together through the examination of our past in order to better understand the present and move towards a promising future. Thus was born the River Ray Pavilion concept. The River Ray Pavilion takes inspiration from the majestic manta ray and supports emerging holographic technologies that will provide a truly unique experience for any visitor. Next slide, please. We determined that our pavilion site would benefit from the following. 1, it must be large and open. 2, it must be near community. 3, it is preferred to build along the also iconic St. Johns River. Using this criteria, we selected our plot of land. The site consists of 21 acres of waterfront real estate that includes a bay that can be used for boat access. The west side also hosts a park, while the east holds a parking lot. The pavilion itself is located in the middle stretch of land. It's also conveniently close to the Jacksonville Sports Complex. Next slide, please. Features that are incorporated in our design include a jogging path encircling the grounds. The jogging path has plaques placed down on it to commemorate some of the historical events and technological advances of the United States in chronological order, letting you literally jog down memory lane. Q codes will enable smartphone interactions and translations to multiple languages. Beneath the center of the Manta Dome is an open-air mechanical stage. Live performances or speakers can share the stage with holographic images. The open-air nature of the stage section will allow for a greater number of people to casually spread out on the lawn and take in the show. Under the left wing reside multimedia displays, many of them interactive. It is here where the older generation can share with the newer generation like never before. The memorial to the future is beneath the right wing. And Isaac?
Hello, my name is Isaac. I am the architect and structural engineer. The River Ray Pavilion possesses an inimitable design. This edifice exhibits a unique curved roof which was inspired by the manta ray, and numerous circular windows. The buildings covered by the wings of the curved roof have 4 doors on the left and right sides that are spaced 4 feet apart from each other and 7 feet from the edges of the walls. The 2 identical buildings are 100 feet in length, 50 feet in width, and 30 feet in height. These buildings are also separated by an open-air 70-foot gap that is covered by the curved roof in which the stage is located. One of our previous designs is included in the bottom right corner of the slide. This design assisted the creation of our final design for the River Ray Pavilion. As seen in the following sketch, 5 steel supports were used to hold up and support the curved roof as it extends over the large gap between buildings. These steel supports are 130 feet in length and extend 30 feet over both buildings. Moving on, tilt-up concrete walls were implemented in the construction of the River Ray Pavilion because they are cost-effective, faster and safer to construct, and have a lower environmental impact. For the foundation, a basic layout is provided on the same slide. This pile cap will extend under both buildings. There are 4 piles on the width of the buildings and 5 on the lengths, all of which will be evenly spaced. Jared?
Hello, my name is Jared Marcelino. I am the interior designer. So as the community walks into our building, they will be greeted with a spacious room filled with holographic displays and rooms. For our building, we wanted a design that came from the past to the present, so we made all displays in a arrow-like design from left to right. Next slide, please. Our holo displays and rooms are there to show the technological advancements that we have as of today. They will be used for a number of situations all over our building. Next slide, please. Our holo designs will be used to show battles like the Revolutionary War or the Civil War. It will also be used to show the first plane launch or the first moonwalk. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. In the middle of our 2 buildings, there will be an amphitheater set aside for speeches and public speakers to come and share. In our right wing, there is going to be a memorial to the future dedicated to show where our civilization is going. It will forever be pointing at a mural of the solar system to show that we are eventually going to be able to colonize other planets. Ethan?
My name is Ethan Foster, and I am the mechanical engineer for this project. And my part of this was designing our stage in the center of our pavilion. It is a 25-foot diameter stage, and it has 4 moving platforms in the center as displayed here. In this stage, the platforms will be hydraulically lifted by their own 5 telescoping pistons capable of lifting the platform and speaker over 10 feet. Internally stored in the stage are hydraulic pumps for each of the 20 total pistons, all powered by a 300 horsepower electric motor stored in the stage. By this design, we hope to pique the interest of the listeners and to give the presenter a higher elevation to be able to speak from. This is our HVAC system. There will be 1 unit per wing of the pavilion. It is a simple system with 4 diffusers and 1 air mover to power the system. Timothy?
Other features that have been incorporated to lower the carbon footprint and increase efficiency include pervious concrete in the parking lot and jogging path to return rainwater to the substrate and prevent runoff. Solar arrays over the parking lot and a roof designed to be adapted to photovoltaic paint will provide power to the holographic displays. Landscaping will be suited to the northeastern Florida climate. The cost is estimated to total $244.81 per square foot. Next slide, please. The project is scheduled to take 7 months to complete from start to finish. Next slide, please. New Dimensions would like to thank you for considering the River Ray Pavilion to be the next Jacksonville icon. We look forward to working with you to complete this project.
Awesome. Great job, guys. We're now going to introduce our 4 evaluators today. We've got with us Brooke Robbins, Olivia Frick, Michelle Tapuni, and Tom Brogan. And they're going to provide feedback as well as ask any questions they may have. So with that, we'll turn over to Brooke first.
Okay, I was gonna say good morning, but we're now on good afternoon. So good afternoon, guys. Thank you for wanting to finish your project, participating in the program this year, and finish your project and show us what you worked on. We're always excited to see the different ideas that everyone comes up with. So I'm an architect, have an architectural background. So I really like your manta ray feature for the roof of this building. I think it's very distinct. It would be, as you said, iconic for Jacksonville, something that you would see, from the highway or from the river or from the air. I think it's really interesting, and I think it does lend to that kind of large pavilion type piece. I think I was glad to see that you thought about how you would build it with the tilt wall construction. I'm kind of thinking down to that detail. A lot of times you come up with a cool sketch, and then what do you do with it? How do you actually make it? So I was happy to see that you guys took that into thought. And then the other thing I really liked is how you are with the holograms and all of the technology that's inside it, inside of the building. I thought it was very thoughtful how you were going to integrate your solar panels and that sort of thing to help power those displays, because that would be a higher draw on the electricity than a normal building that did not have those features. So the only question I really had was, did you guys, I know you had that central kind of concert space. Did you think about the proximity of this to the stadium and Daly's Place and that sort of thing, and how might we have 3 events going on at the same time? Did you think about that at all? Anticipate anything from that?
We were already aware of the Jacksonville Stadium, but I'm sorry, what was the other thing you mentioned?
The Daly's, the concert venue that was is attached to the side of the stadium, the outdoor arena.
I was personally not very familiar with that.
Okay. Okay. It's just a thought, just something to think about. I mean, this is something I've thought about as they talk about the Lot J developments and different, aspects of that development, of when you have multiple outdoor arenas all within walking distance of each other. How do you handle that that noise factor of separating them, so you can't can't have 3 concerts going on at the same time? How does that work? But overall, I think it was really cool. The roof is very interesting, and I think it would be a lovely feature for Jacksonville. So I'll pass it on to Olivia.
Thanks, Brooke. You guys did an amazing job. I really love the design, and just thinking about, like Brooke said, you're going to see this from a ton of different ways, and it's going to be interesting, and it's going to draw people in, but just by its shape, and that's really really thoughtful when you're from a design perspective. But then you went one step further and you talked about the details, and I really appreciate that. You guys really talked about how you were going to accomplish this and why it made sense to do this way. I think really my only question I had was, given the shape of your building, did you consider having an aquarium component to it, being that it's next to the river and having that shape? Was that part of discussions at any point?
In fact, that was one of the earlier concepts that we were discussing, that we could build an aquarium here. But we decided to go in favor of pavilion, but I don't see why not that some aquarium properties could be taken into this.
Yeah, I just love that. I mean, I just was trying to marry the idea between, this venue with this holographic space, and then, maybe people being drawn in by the shape that it's in, and then thinking that maybe there was some aquarium component to it. But I think you guys did a great job, and I really like to see how you push yourselves in the programming of the space. So great job, you guys.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Olivia. Michelle?
Hi, again, congratulations and thank you for hanging through this challenging time to keep getting the RFP done. I echo what Brooke and Olivia both said. I love this design. I don't live far from there, and it would be amazing to have something iconic on the river rather than just another box. So thank you for being so thoughtful. And I will tell you, I learned something from you. I actually looked up, I did not know rays came up the river. And I guess the St. Johns River is unique in the number of rays, how far it comes up. They come up the river as a coastal river system. So thank you for teaching me something about some of the different species that can come into the river. I won't be surprised now when I see one. I also, again, I think the way you branded it, very, you see that once and people are going to come to town and say, oh, we know exactly what that is. It's either going to be the Tampa Bay Rays baseball or it's going to be us. So thank you for that and for being so thoughtful. And I'm excited about the technology you are incorporating with the holograms, because every time you want to change out an exhibit, you don't have to take something that might end up in the landfill. Very sustainable that you could switch up the historical components or add or, pull. So again, I congratulate you on being so thoughtful on some of these elements for the project. I'm going to ask you the same question that I've asked everyone. You have picked a site that is in the city's coastal high hazard area, which means we expect that it's going to be underwater at some time. Did you take that into consideration in your design for sea level rise?
We have taken it into consideration, and the mechanical stage itself is waterproofed. As for any holographic technologies that are residing in the building, they can either be easily evacuated or waterproof themselves. That's
great. Well, again, I congratulate you. I wish somebody was building this now. I'd be like one of the cheerleaders on the corner waving. I think we need to send that one down to the DIA and tell them we want this project. So thanks again, guys, for hanging in, and I hope you enjoy your summer. I'm going to turn it over to Tom.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am.
All right, so
sorry, it's habit.
Like the other judges, I thought you guys did a very great job. I can't believe that the three lady judges didn't say anything about how well you guys looked. You're the only team that dressed up for this presentation today. I know you're all wearing red ties, so I don't know if you coordinated that or if you all just happen to have red ties, but I think it adds a little bit of polish and it shows that you guys were thinking about what you were doing. I think your consideration for multiple languages as part of your site, I think that's something we had not heard before, and I think that was well thought about. The philosophy on why you picked the shape you did, and me as a structural engineer loved the conversation about tilt walls and the pile foundations is exactly the right foundations to use for a project like this. One question I do have for the team is, you talked a little bit about the part of the roof that bridges across that opening, but that whole roof is a curved shape. Did you get into any more depth as to how you would create the curved shape with roof framing?
Isaac, I think that would be you.
We did not, actually. Okay. So.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I just thought I'd ask. It's pretty complicated to do. So if you'd taken it that far, that would have been really cool. I also like the space where you're going to have old people and young people together, kind of learning from each other. I think all that's really, really cool. One last thing I want to ask you guys about. So how far along in this project were you before, the coronavirus kind of made everybody start to work virtually?
We were about 3/4 of the way through.
Okay. And then was it difficult? Was there a difficult transition or adjustment as you went from seeing each other face to face to, having online meetings and whatever?
I don't think it was too difficult. We used Discord to coordinate because we could screen share with each other, video call, text, a lot of different unique features, which made it a lot easier. So.
At the same time, we did lose our electrical engineer and our civil engineer, just due to not being able to communicate with either.
Okay. Well, again, well done. Really enjoyed it. Love the shape. Really like the thought that you guys put into it. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Great. So I think that wraps it up here today. We appreciate, again, you four gentlemen for finishing the program. A great job today. Really impressive presentation. Thank each of you for hanging in there all day today and being part of this and providing great feedback and asking great questions today for each of our 6 teams. And thank anybody else on the call or on the meeting right now for any support that you provided throughout this year's program. Before we wrap up, is there anything anybody else would like to add?
Hey, Jacob, it's Denise. I just want to say great job to you and Catherine. I think the 2 of you did most of the work putting all this together. You guys definitely put a lot of planning and effort into it. And I hung with the whole thing today. So just listening to it all. So I wanted to say good job and thank you to both of you.
Thank you.
Denise.
I have a comment for the team. I know I'm not an evaluator, but having been on all of the practice calls, and I hope that I won't be speaking out of turn, guys, when I say this, they literally had a presentation last week that was placeholders. Almost every one of their slides were placeholders. It was not a polished presentation yet, but you could tell they had the concepts. You could tell that they were working together, really this excellent communicative dance they're doing with each other. And I could just see that translating so well for all of you in the future when you are doing teamwork and presentations like this. You can have the best presentation in the world and you have 10 minutes to present and you only get through a quarter of your slides, or you can have a really well-oiled machine that maybe doesn't have like super swanky whatevers. And I'm thrilled for you guys. I'm really proud that you pulled it together and that you didn't give up and didn't just tell your teacher and your mentors that you just don't want to do it. From last week to today, I'm just blown away. So great job.
Thank you,
Welcome
ma'am.
to the real world. That's what it's like when we all do an RFP.
Yes.
Put it all together.
3 days before.
The night before.
Hey, they're not supposed to tell the students about that. They don't need to do that. They gotta learn better than
So
us.
you guys are ready.
Thank you.